All of time is now. All of the ages are occurring right now. There will come a time where time travel will be just as commonplace as space travel is today. Space travel in the sense of, okay, I'm going to hop on a plane and I'm going to fly to another continent. Okay, I'm going to hop on a time machine device and I'm going to travel to another age. Would we or will we be able to do this biologically? That I'm not sure. Or is this something that we would have to do with projection of your consciousness through space-time, instead through forms in space-time? There's a book called Recursion by Blake Crouch, one of my favorite authors. And in it, he actually discusses time travel, but he uses a machine and they're sending people's consciousness through time, not physical form. So time travel is theoretically possible. I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to read what ChatGPT has to say. I'm going to support what I'm saying, right? I don't want you to just take my word for it. I don't just say things just to say things. So I asked ChatGPT, explain eternalism in physics. And it says eternalism is a concept often associated with the physics of time, particularly in the context of the theory of relativity. It suggests that all points in time, past, present, and future, are equally real, as opposed to the presentism view, which holds that only the present is real, right? So key concepts of eternalism: block universe theory. Eternalism is closely related to the block universe theory, which is a way of viewing the universe as a four-dimensional space-time block. Think outside the box. Think outside the block. Yeah. Okay. In this model, time is just another dimension like space. See, guys, I'm not making this up. All events, past, present, and future, exist within this block, and the flow of time as we experience it is an illusion. Einstein's theory of relativity supports eternalism in several ways. In special relativity, different observers can disagree on whether two events happen simultaneously. This challenges the idea of a universal present and supports the notion that all moments in time exist equally. Okay, now here's some implications of eternalism. Eternalism often leads to a deterministic view of the universe where the future is already written in the block universe just as the past is. This challenges the idea of free will and the ability to change the future. So hold that thought, because now we're going to weave in the many worlds interpretation to sort of nudge things in a different direction. Because what I want to say is that, yes, all of time, past, present, and future exists right now, but the many worlds interpretation suggests that there are more than one past, present, and future. So it's not just the future, right? It's all of these sort of futures existing simultaneously, all still predetermined, but they exist simultaneously. And because it's not you like living this linear life, it's your consciousness sort of shifting through all of these predetermined realities, right? They're all still happening. It's all still predetermined, but your action will determine what future you'll experience. Think of it as one of those choose your own destiny books. Okay. You pick up a book. Yeah. And in that book, the author has written, let's say, 5 different endings for your character. So you start off one way, you get to a particular page. And then they say, if you want to go left, turn to page 20. If you want to go right, turn to page 22. Okay. It's all written in the book. There's a beginning and there's an end, but there's also an end. And then there's also another end. And there's like, you, the reader, are the ones that are, you're creating this line through the book, if you will, this path through the book, if you will, but that's not really a path, right? You could say, okay, I started off on page 1 to 22 and then from 22 to 45 and then 45. Okay, but it's all of the pages exist now in the book. The book is the now. And then you are just, by your choices, you're kind of carving this path. But that line that you're going through as you're reading, it's an illusion. It's an illusory line, right? Because all of these things exist right now. All of these paths, all of these endings that your character can experience is right now in that one book. And I'll take that, blow it up. And yes, we live in a deterministic universe, but there are a myriad of possible outcomes that your consciousness can experience. And just to go back to the book, right? The character stays the same, right? But your character might die on one page and then continue experiencing, the book or an adventure in a different page. But it's you, the reader, you're real in a way, because you're the one who's making the choices. But ultimately, before you even pick up the book, it's already been written. You're just the observer. You're just the reader. That's what's happening to us. Okay, so go back to the science. Perception of time. If eternalism is true, our perception of time as flowing from past through the present to the future is a subjective experience. That's what I just said. Not an objective feature of reality. All moments exist simultaneously, but we perceive them sequentially, right? So like I said, you pick up the book. All of the endings are written in the book, but you're perceiving it as a sequence. Well, I did this, and then I did this, and then this. Yeah. That's just you explaining the choices that you made. Did you go to page 22? Well, that's telling one story. It seems like a sequence, but that's the illusion. You're just making the choices, but the choices are already there, which I think is just so cool. Okay. Philosophical consideration, free will versus determinism. Eternalism raises questions about free will since it suggests that the future is as fixed as the past. However, some interpretations suggest that while the future exists, we still might have some agency within it, which is what I'm talking about. Yes, it does exist, but it's not the future. What we decide, what we choose, right? There could be one particular path, but should you not deviate in any way, shape, or form from your programming, from start to finish, that's the story. That's the story that your life is going to have. But then there's some people, like people who are watching this show, for example, they go, wait, what happens if I do something else? All of a sudden, that path that had a high probability of occurring, right, becomes less probable because now you've done something random, you've done something. So now you found yourself in a less probable path, right? All existing right now, all pre-written, but you do have some autonomy there, some choice. You just have to consciously deviate from that programming that just feels so, like, if you're not the kind of person to jump on a table and dance in a restaurant, right? That reality experience is there. Like, what happens after you jump on a table, right? That's a different reality that's going to branch out. But more than likely, you have a particular personality, you have a particular type of programming, you have a particular whatever. You're more than likely going to behave in a particular way, and as a result, that path, though it exists, it's is least likely you're going to traverse down that path. You're less likely to turn to page 25 if you're not the kind of person that moves in that way. So you almost have to do things that challenge your convention if you want to explore less probable reality. So you have thinkers like Gurdjieff and P.D. Uspensky saying there are some people who their whole entire line is a fucking like high probability experience, right? In the sense of their genetic line, like they did what their father did, what their father's father did, because my father was a farmer, so I'm going to be a farmer. My grandson's going to be a farmer. I mean, to the point where they even named their kid the same name. Like this is Thomas Anderson Jr., Thomas Anderson III, Thomas Anderson IV, and they're just the same fucking person. Like that they're just living that highly probable life. And that's okay, right? That's okay. But then there's some people who go, wait, I want to be the kind of person that goes, well, fuck it, what if I do this? It sounds easier than it actually is in practice. And so that's why you have to get into the habit of deviating and not reacting, choosing your responses. That's why I start the book, So You're Living in the Simulation, with that chapter about choosing your responses. The book is very nuanced, right? And on a surface level, it just seems like, okay, what are these random things? But I'm trying to teach you how to see your way through, think your way through into reality experiences that are pre-programmed in, but maybe less probable, right? So you're not stuck in that loop where you're doing the same thing over and over again, and it's just sort of a boring experience. Unless you want to have that, that's okay too. So now that we've established this concept, what does that have to do with time travel? Well, you cannot believe in the possibility of time travel without the eternalism model being true. You can't travel to a future if the future doesn't presently exist. And then if the future exists, then the past also exists. And we definitely know the past exists because we've experienced it, right? You know the past exists, so then the future also exists. Past, present, future exists right now as locations in space-time. Think of space-time as a map. Past, present, future, right now. And you're just kind of going through it or whatever, but it is right now intuitively. And it makes more sense that the future is a location in space-time, which is why we can talk about what we believe will happen in the future, because on some level, we know that the future is a real tangible location in space-time, okay? So you cannot travel to something that doesn't exist right now. I cannot travel to California if California isn't a real place right now. All probable futures exist right now. The future where AI takes over everything and kills us all exists. It's probably a lower probability of occurrence, but it definitely exists. You can think of it as a parallel universe in a way, but it exists right now as a probability, the way in a book, a choose your own destiny book, what chapter you turn to, what page you turn to exists right now, but you may or may not ever go to that page. You're following me? Okay, so you cannot travel to the future if it doesn't exist. And I think most of us, especially just because of what we've seen on TV and everything like that, we believe that the future is a real place. I feel like we even dream about the future because I think on some level we are consciously entangled with future versions of ourselves that have had the experiences or are having the experience that we will experience now. And then we have sort of memories of that future in dreams.